You are traveling through another dimension. It is a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. It lies at the pit of Oilers fans' fears and at the summit of their knowledge of what it is to know pain and fear and dread and disappointment. It is a world we call Handkerchief Dynasty. I am, as always, your secret professor, joined by my good friend and dude, not much impressed right now, the High Priest of Oilers Magic. How are you, High Priest? I mean, I'm asking rhetorically. I know you cannot be doing very well.
Yeah, you're right. You are correct, sir.
I mean, like, for all intents and purposes, like, we really need to rely on the fact that we prepared ourselves for the fact that the Oilers are probably going to lose this series after losing the first two games. In spite of the theatrics. No, you didn't, but I did. And that's why I prepared for this eventuality. Like, I have the bunker all stocked up with food. Did you just fart?
No.
I mean, what can you really say? It's like you're watching the game, you're enjoying your life. You know, I tweeted out, I recall, it's nice to know what it means to have some fun in the playoffs. You know, it was a fun time. I was enjoying myself. We were playing very well. All four lines were kind of going. We had all these new look lines that all just had a little bit of, had a little bit of something going on. You know, we had this crazy fourth line of three small guys, three small quick guys. We had a second line where you're like, okay, well, what the fuck? And then as the game went on, McLeod is a fucking gamer, man. Like, McLeod was driving that fucking line. And then we're winning the game fucking 4-1. Archibald takes a bad penalty, and then it's the fucking Hindenburg, basically. We're like Toronto. We turned into like Toronto or some shit, which is some fucked up shit, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I went from thinking, okay, Dave Tippett, and it's really funny as a head coach because I've oscillated violently back and forth several times, thinking that he's either off his rocker or he's like just pure genius savant.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you have to question whether it's time for them to maybe think about another look here.
I guess so. I mean,
the
players took their foot off the gas for 8 minutes. They thought the Jets were going to treat this like a regular season game and start thinking about what they were doing after the game. And unfortunately, that's not the way the playoffs work. So, yeah, I don't know. I thought Tippett's line combinations were great. I wish he would have called a timeout, but Tippett doesn't really do that. But
he's not really a timeout guy.
I'm not going to lay the blame for that at Tippett's feet. The Oilers took their foot off the gas. They don't play a 60-minute game. They haven't played a 60-minute game for 20 years, right? They play 52-minute games. And then at the end, they just those post-game pressers are just like gold. You know what I mean?
Oh man, were you listening to fucking CBC?
I turned off the TV as soon as the game ends. As soon as it ends, they were like, "Oh, Nikolai Hiller's out," and then it's off, and then tears, and then snuggles. And
yeah, you had children to console. You were a consolation guy.
Yeah, and
you weren't even sure if you were going to come on mic. You were like, dude, I got to deal with the mental health crisis home here. Yeah,
absolutely. And
broken
then
hearts.
There's
broken hearts.
And then there's my own broken heart to deal with, So I had to go outside and look after the plants and fire some slappers at the wicker chair on the driveway.
Wicker chair,
and yeah, here I am. I've never seen a collapse like that. I've never been on the receiving end of a collapse like that.
Well, yeah, we've seen it. I mean, it reminds me of a Toronto-Boston thing,
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was in the bar watching that going on, and I just saw all the Toronto fans just losing their minds, and now I know how it feels. And in an odd way, though, I still thought we had a decent chance going into overtime.
No, I didn't.
But no,
there was no way. No, there's no way. Imagine I went for a bike ride between periods, and all I could think about is how different it must be in those two locker rooms. There was no way. No.
Well, let me ask you a question.
In fact,
I'm surprised
they didn't win it in regulation. Very surprised they didn't win.
But let me ask you one question right now. Did the Oilers run into a motivated and large hockey team in the playoffs this year? The Winnipeg Jets are a huge team.
They beat themselves.
Yeah.
The series should be 2-1 right now. The Oilers beat themselves. So their greatest opponent continues to be themselves. It's something else.
Pretty epic shit. It's like a real like mind bender. The whole like your biggest enemy being yourself. Like wasn't there a Christian Slater like a Helm TV show called My Own Worst Enemy where he had like split personalities or something, and it didn't like take off. It like even trying to write a show in that theme is difficult. But like trying to be a hockey team where you're your own worst enemy, like I mean, I also just question though. I mean, again, we're going through the stages of grief. You know, we loaded up the chambers for the stages of grief gun. It's an air gun. We also use it to euthanize the cattle down on the Daryl Sutter Ranch, where I'm going to work this summer as an intern. Actually, I'm going to do an internship on the Sutter Ranch.
He's going to eat you alive. Awesome. He's going to eat you alive.
I don't give a living fuck, man. I don't give a living fuck.
It won't be awesome for you. It won't be awesome for you.
I'm looking forward to being broken down. No, I need some structure. I need someone to break me down and build me back up again. And I think Daryl Sutter is the man to do that. As we all know, at this point in the offseason, is it 100% Daryl Sutter is still the purest substance known to man.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, I may as well. And also, you know, I'm just going to put myself out there like Handkerchief Dynasty podcast. You know, we don't have to be an Edmonton Oilers fan podcast. Like we could put ourselves out on like a hockey fan podcast Tinder and like see if there's like a team out there that like wants like maybe the Manitoba Moose are like more our flavor, you know? Is that still a team?
Maybe some like team we can just like
maybe like an Australian lacrosse team.
Some team like maybe buried in the deep south, some team like in the bayou that we can just cover ourselves. And
what about like the Shanghai Tigers or whatever, like in the Chinese
something
league?
Like that.
Yeah, or like a KHL team, like we could be bought off by like a Russian oligarch, and he could be like, yeah, like
you know what,
Yaroslavl.
Too easy to find. I don't want anybody to find me. If we stop being an Oilers podcast, I don't want anyone to ever be able to find me again. I just want to be very, very, very hidden. You know what I mean?
Ensconced in secrecy. Yeah. Here's
still
my
a
question,
game,
though.
you know,
there's still a game. Thank God it's tomorrow, because having to wait for fucking game 4, to be honest, I'm like 50-50 whether I'm gonna like watch the fucking game.
I'm not going to. I'm gonna put the radio on.
And then go for a long walk.
I'm going to sit outside. I'm going to sit outside with like some depressing Russian novels at hand. And that's all.
Like Anna Karenina. What are we looking at here? Crime and Punishment.
I'm reading Dead Souls right now by Gogol.
Oh, Gogol.
Yeah.
Is it Gogol or Gogol?
It could be Gogol.
It's depressing though. Yeah, it's definitely depressing. You know that much. If there's one thing the Russians excel at, there's many things the Russians excel at: puck possession in the game of hockey, nuclear armaments, long-term strategic thinking, and depressing literature. Also, they invented the novel, really.
It's not even really depressing unless you're not Russian. I think if you're Russian, it's not very depressing.
It's probably extremely uplifting, because like next to the like status quo, like
might be
like homeostasis emotional state of a Russian, it's probably like very uplifting.
Very invigorating.
The Russians are beautiful people.
Very beautiful people.
Yeah. Big fan. We need more Russians on the team. Maybe Samarukov is going to come in. Like we really just need, though. Here's the thing. We're going into this off season now. Okay. Kenny Holland hasn't actually had.
Not. I mean, we're not yet, right?
We are.
We could still be.
We are.
No, we're
Let's
not.
keep it real, man. Let's keep it real. How many times in the history of hockey has a team come down from
4?
Exactly. Exactly. So
I mean, we're not out of it yet. We're out of it when we're out of it. I'm not. That's a difference between you and I, and it's a difference between myself and a lot of my friends who are just like, it's over, but it's not actually over yet. So I'm still, to my own.
Again.
to my own detriment and own the erosion of my own mental health, I still believe that the Oilers will win this series.
See, and that's your big mistake. That's a huge mistake. See, I already, as difficult as today was, and I think this is probably one of the most difficult, certainly the most difficult day since we started the fucking podcast. No question about that.
Oh, it's
probably
in years.
Most difficult day probably since game 1 of 06, of the Stanley Cup final, like it's right
we
up
were in
there.
the Stanley Cup final and we didn't have the two. I mean, that was all such gravy. We didn't have the two.
But in terms of a collapse,
a
a calamity that reverberated out like a great whale, a la
I
the
would say
destruction of Andor in Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope.
Yeah, I would say this
voices crying out in pain and then being
this
silent.
to me is higher. This to me is higher.
Higher. So how far back are we going then?
Like I said, in my fandom, my years with the Oilers, I can't remember anything like this happening. I can remember the Oilers doing it to other teams. They did it to Dallas a few times. I think they beat Colorado once and it was like this, but I can never ever remember a situation where they had to win. I mean, how about like the Jets have never been up 3-0 in a series before. There's that too, right? So, and it's just like
they are playing very well. You really have to say it though, right?
I guess so. I mean,
and here's another question. Here's another thing.
We were beating them. The Oilers were beating them 4-1, man. We had it. The Oilers
crazy.
had it, and they took their foot off the gas, parked the car, and went grocery shopping.
Yeah, they were like, no, they were like, while the game was going on, they were like turning back, being like, you guys, why do you think I'm picking up smokes? You want some cherry blasters? And they're like, dude, there's a hockey game going on. It's like, oh yeah, oh.
Yeah.
It's like, man.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Oh, it's painful. To be honest, like I actually, in the moment when the OT goal got scored, I had just like stood up and like walked just out of view of the screen. So then I just heard them call, and he scores. And like I had this sinking feeling in my head based on the amount of enthusiasm from the guy calling the game, who was clearly like a Winnipeg apologist. I think he was also Trump appointed. He might have been a Trump appointed commentator. It's like these partisan appointments in hockey need to stop, man. I just want things to go back to like the way they were. But anyways, I heard that they had scored, and I had this sinking feeling. I somehow knew it was going to be Winnipeg. And then when I heard Ehlers, it was like a part of me on the inside died forever. And I don't think it's coming back.
No.
Whatever part of my brain existed at that moment, I can't even really remember what it did. I remember it had a sort of very specific purpose related to my capacity to enjoy life in some fashion.
Yeah.
What that capacity was, it's now completely gone. Because it's been like a burnt out fuse.
The trauma of this game will last forever. There's going to be a huge like scar tissue on our brains from this game. Never go away. It will be there forever. It will always be there.
Like why do bad things have to happen?
I don't know. I don't understand. Like we're not asking for much. We're down
2-0 in the fucking series. It just would have been nice before we lose in 5 games to just get that one win and a split in Winnipeg.
I mean,
now it's like we're gonna get the one game, but like there's no way we're winning game 5. Like you think there's still a series here?
Of course I do. We're not out of it. I mean,
you think Connie and Dry are gonna show up in game 4 and make us all believe again?
Yeah, I don't know.
If it comes back with the same lineup or what?
Yeah, I would. I
definitely would too. No Neil, no Jason. I mean, didn't really miss him that much, to be honest. We looked like
no. And you know what else? How about Cassian? Cassian had his best game of the season.
Yeah, he sure did. But I mean, if it hadn't been precipitous, if it didn't precede a like mammoth spiritual backbreaking collapse, I might have appreciated it more. But yeah, that third goal was like the kind of thing where it's like you couldn't have written a better story. I was thinking about it, and it was kind of like so prodigal son. It was such a prodigal son moment. It was like Han Solo coming out to save them at the end of the first Star Wars. All right, kid, let's blow this thing and go home, whatever the fuck he says. And then what actually happened, it's as though what happened was in the middle of production of Star Wars, they change directors and they change it to like Michael Fassbender, or not Michael Fassbender, the other Fassbender, the director, or like Lars von Trier or Terry Gilliam, and then they turned it into Brazil, where Luke Skywalker's actually in some facility where like he's having a dream of like them winning, and in reality they've actually like lost, and like the bad guys just like win the day, and it's just like the most like heart gut wrenching, like just soul shattering ending to a movie that you thought had like the best ending ever. You know, you were just like right there. You were like, this has been the greatest movie ever. I love this. I'm so happy. The heroes are getting to escape this horrible, you know, they're winning. And then it's like, no, that's just a grim, like a childish fantasy.
I wonder how many Oilers fans are thinking tonight, as I am, if they're thinking tonight, is it me? You know what I mean? Am I the problem? Am I the problem? Am I just like, have I just created this huge vortex of like swirling shit around me that's just like everything, like
yes. It's your fault. Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
I just don't understand, man. I don't understand. Like, why didn't they just start playing? There was 10 minutes left. Just play the trap. Just everybody back.
Just do exactly what you were doing the entire game up until that point. Like, why? Like the whole taking your foot off the gas thing in hockey is a really weird one, because it's like, if the analogy is that you're in a race car, you know, like you'd never take your foot off the gas. The gas pedal is there to be pressed at all appropriate times.
It's not a very good idea to do that unless you want to lose the race, right? It's like a race between two cars and you're winning. And then you decide, I'm going to take my foot off the gas now. And then it rarely works.
Well, it's a really interesting strategy. It's kind of counterintuitive, you know? Is it like a rope-a-dope type strategy? Is it like, I'm gonna take my foot off the gas and let him get really close, and then I'll just put my foot back on the gas and like psych him out and just like break down his belief in himself or something?
It's laziness. I mean, the thing of it is like the awfulness of it is knowing that the Oilers were like, we got this, guys. Like, we got this. And then like, what are you doing? The game's not over. The game is 60 minutes. Guys, the game is 60 minutes. You have to remember, guys, like job one of any coach on the Oilers bench should be constantly reminding the guys, because apparently they need reminding. It's been a problem for like 20 years, that the game is 60 minutes long. The game is 60 minutes long, not 52 minutes. Like, you can't stop playing yet, guys. It's not over yet. The game's not over yet, guys. Because
do you think this team believes in themselves? Do you think this team believes in their ability to win game 4 and make this a series for the first time?
Yeah, I think they do.
Do you think they're going to go in there and be professionals, and they're just like, they don't really have any faith in themselves?
I think if anything, this team for years has been overly confident in themselves, and they take any success kind of in the worst possible way. And they almost embrace having to prove themselves, and then don't finish proving themselves, which is like, I'm not sure if there's like a worse thing to be a fan of than a team that does that, where it's like they lose a bunch of games or they're super shitty and they're like, yeah, we're going to come back and we're going to show everybody like we learned a lot of lessons. And then they come back and like for 52 minutes, you're like, holy smokes, like now this is a team I've been waiting to see. And then in 8 minutes, they just completely are worse than they ever were before and rip your heart out. I mean, these 3 playoff games have been the roughest, most depressing. I mean, coming off of a game where we got to watch 4 periods of hockey and didn't get to cheer once, into this game where we're up 4-1 and then we lose.
This game felt like the luxury lane of life. It was just it was such a refreshing, just it was like I was strolling down a dewy meadow barefoot, just like amazing.
Yeah, it's really, really.
And it was really weird because even when it was 4-1, there was a part of my brain that was just like, it's possible, it's psychologically possible physically possible
Wow.
that they could come back in this game. And then they kept on scoring. And it was weird because like I almost like I predicted it. I like could see it coming somehow.
See, that's what I mean. It's like you're like me. It's like how many Oilers fans out there are doing that right now, where they're internalizing this loss and being like, like this is my fault. I should have.
No, I'm not saying it's my fault. I'm saying I'm psychic.
You just said that. You
No, I'm
just
saying
said
it's
that.
psychic. No, I didn't cause it. I just saw it coming, which means I can see the future only when I shoot heroin, just like that character on Heroes. Same.
It was
exact same thing.
also like, what was I gonna say? I can't remember. It was just so awful. Oh yeah, I remember what I was gonna say is that I've really noticed what's happening right now. Do you remember how the Hawks scored all their goals last year? Pretty much were like muffin shots from the point. Like, what are we seeing this year? Same thing, right? Like the Oilers are terrible at blocking shots, just complete garbage at it. The plan is for the Jets, like get the puck to the point. The Oilers give them so much space to like get close and set up, even on 5-on-5, and then just put a shot on net. There'll be traffic in front. The Oilers don't know how to block shots. It's not good. Despite all of that,
we don't appear built for the playoffs. I mean, the best case scenario I think right now is that
we
we're
have
Tampa Bay the year before
players.
they won the cup, right? Where they get trounced and they're too small and they load up with some bigger guys, come back the next year and win it all. That's the best case scenario. In terms of delusional, mind-bending fantasies, that's the one I'm going to cling to right now. And this is why I advocate for accepting the grimness of the loss early, because it allows you to move on to the off-season delusions earlier. You save time in your off-season delusional accumulation timeline.
The difference in that situation is the Tampa Bay Lightning were, for years before that first round collapse, a team that was consistently like second round in the playoffs, third round in the playoffs. They've been a good, that was an anomaly. This isn't an anomaly, right? This is like what the Oilers do. This is, they get into the playoffs and then they blow it. Seems to be the new thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like they've their deepest run with Connor McDavid in like 5 years now is the second round.
That was 4 years ago now, though.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So like in 5 years, that's our deepest run with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl.
All right, well, let's play a game of like worst case scenarios here. Okay. Like, what if Connor wants out soon?
Well, then he goes and like.
And do we get a king's ransom for him and actually build a huge team? Is that something that could actually happen? No. So we would just become lacrosse fans? Are we just going to start following professional lacrosse? Is that
if
what
McDavid leaves this team, or Draisaitl, man? Either
or Draisaitl.
It's not like Leon Draisaitl doesn't want to win and he'll stick around and go down with his sinking ship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if those guys demand a trade, I don't know.
They won't. I don't think they will. Not quite yet, but like another couple of years of this shit, probably. No, who wouldn't?
Yeah, yeah. But at honestly, the same time, this is the thing, like, I mean, Kenny Connie was the captain of the team that blew a 4-1 lead with 10 minutes left in the third period, right?
Maybe we just need to like do a different thing with the captaincy then. Why is that the end of the world?
I think we need to bring in, some leaders on this team. I don't think there are any. I don't think Connor McDavid is a good leader. Not by my measure of what makes up. He's like a freaky offensive talent. I think
he's a godly offensive talent, just like otherworldly offensive talent. But like that doesn't mean he has to be a leader too.
Those two things have absolutely nothing in common.
Nothing to do with each other.
You can be both of those things.
Correlation is not causation, though. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I would say no problem with Leon, with them just not having a captain next year and then naming Draisaitl the captain after that.
You need to have a captain. No more of this like 6 assistant captains. Like the Oilers need to have a guy.
Well, then Draisaitl's the captain of this team then. And that might actually make a difference. I think Draisaitl's a leader for sure. Yeah, I think he's a guy that has he has the skill and the leadership. But really, like, think about it this way: we've got a ton of cap space this year. I mean, are we re-signing Nuge? Because right now we're re-signing Nuge at less than he was making this year.
No, I wouldn't re-sign Nuge. Why?
So, I mean, we're going to actually have a chance where, with a lot of free agents available in the market being pretty good, Kenny Holland can actually put some of his own pieces on this roster for the first time.
Yeah, if free agents want to come here, which is always also a problem, like it is. And this isn't going to help that.
I don't think it's going to hurt it that much.
Really?
No. Do you think there's going to be free agents that are like, they are going to be thinking about Edmonton? They're going to be thinking about the recent playoff collapse? Like that kind of shit happens. Like it's the playoffs, man. Anything can happen. Like teams lose series when they shouldn't all the time. I don't think, I mean, it's a really big fucking deal for us in that it's like the most disappointing night as Oilers fans in our lives. Probably the biggest heartfelt, like the most, heartfelt disappointments of our sports fandom lives. But I mean, if an NHL free agent, he's thinking about it from a completely different, equation.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm just saying, I think the lineup to play in Edmonton will be significantly smaller if we're trounced by the Jets in 4 games. That's all I'm saying.
Well, we need to win the next game just for pride. But beyond that, I mean, I think if you roll the same lines and the pride is on the line, and I probably will watch tomorrow just because, Yeah. But like a sweep would be a pretty bitter pill. A sweep would definitely be a pretty bitter pill.
And I think Archibald is not going to be in tomorrow's game. That was a dirty hit. That was clipping, right? Clear case of clipping. Like you can't do that. You can't hit a guy low like that. So that's
who comes in for Archie?
I don't know, but he's been one of our best players, I think. And
it's interesting. It's interesting when you look at the game prior to the collapse, because we had the first line had dominated in the first period, and then all the other lines were either like playing even or just getting a lot of possession time. Like the second line was looking good, and the third line was looking. Our Kyra had that tip that not perfect. That line had some issues, I would say, but then that fourth line of like 3 little small skilled guys with speed was like great, as a fourth line. So, I mean, if come back with the same lines, I mean, like, what time is the game tomorrow?
It's like 7:45.
7:45. How do you like our chances in that game right now? I mean, it's a good thing that it's right away.
Really? That's a question. That's my favorite question. Like post game.
No,
I got a question. Hey, I got a question, guys. Is it a good thing that you guys are playing again tomorrow and don't have to stew on it for the whole day? Like, you kidding? You waste of oxygen. Really? Like, that's the question you ask after this game? Do you think like it was just like that happens and then the guy who asked that question is just like, I know, hey guys, I know what I'm asking. What do you guys got? I know what I'm asking, guys. Yeah. Talk about insult to injury. You have to sit through.
Oh man, the presser. Can you imagine sitting through that presser?
Well, I can't believe that. I mean, credit to the guys for not just burying the doofus who asked that question, because I certainly would have. Yeah. That's prime time for some of Draisaitl's patented sarcastic answer, right? Mm. And he didn't do it because it would have been a bad look. But what a question! What a question! Just like Oilers media.
I mean, a good thing. Hockey media in general. I mean, just look at the quality of like advertisements on that CBC broadcast we watched tonight. I was watching it early on, and I was thinking, I actually had more time to think about something else besides the Oilers losing, because we're actually ahead and I could relax a little bit. And I realized, like, with the exception of that one insurance ad that had really nice production values, every one of those ads could have been produced in like a now defunct state from like the 1980s or 1990s, that had collapsed, like on state television. Like, that's the quality of advertisement that they would see. I'm sure it's around that level. I'm getting really sick of it, man. Like if I'm gonna watch the same fucking Scotiabank ad 35 times, I mean, it could just make it a little bit better. And the Timmy's ads, man. And then the weird ads for the Tragically Hip album that was like lost tapes that like Scotiabank had found, and they were like selling them at a premium or something. Like, just creepy, man. And I love the hit, of course. We've gone over this. I don't know, man. Like, what about Kulikov? Like, do you think Kulikov has been like a positive addition or neutral addition? Yeah.
Yeah, I think is who I thought had a real stinky game tonight was Ethan Bear. He had a rough night. That pass up the middle in the first, where like it was a breakaway and Mike Smith bailed us out, and then he also punched one into his own net. The first goal, I think, he knocked into his own net. It was kind of like floating through space and time, and he like finished the job. Yeah, I don't know. He hasn't looked good to me. Kulikov's looked fine, I think. I don't know. I don't know what the it was just it was an incredible thing to be a part of.
So let me ask you this. Like, we know where the pit of your fears lie, but what's the summit of your potential hopes and dreams here? Or is it possible to for us to win 4 games in a row and somehow come back here?
Of course it is.
Yeah. You think that's going to happen?
Well, I have to think that way. See, when you ask me questions like that, like I have to think that way. If there's any sort of optimism I can cling to ever, I will, just because I have to do that.
All right, well, let's do this then. Okay, let's both assume, for the sake of argument and for the sake of ourselves, that the Oilers are going to win the next 4 games, and we're literally about to punch our cosmic ticket to 4 straight games of crazy edge of your seat thrills and wild hockey action. Okay, so you're going to punch your ticket right now with me? Put your finger up, punch that ticket, punch it.
Yes.
Okay.
So I have to actually literally do that.
Do something. There you go. Thank you. Okay, yeah, we're using the biometric scanner. It's on you can't see it on the front of your screen, but it's there. All right, well, I guess I'll see you tomorrow night then, because like honestly, if we punched our ticket to 4 games of like wild abandon and just like embracing the core of all of our personal dreams. Also, it sounds like you have some children to console a little bit more, my friend.
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Yeah. That's one of the things about having a Oilers fan podcast. If you're a dad with children, is when shit like this happens, you're going to be picking up the pieces for weeks.
Oh, for years, dude.
Yeah.
For years. I mean, look at me, still processing stuff from like 2006. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Me too. Well, what more can you do?
Nothing. I'm going to go to bed now.
Yeah, go to bed, man. I'm going to also go to bed at an appropriate time and then sleep in, and then possibly launch the Handkerchief Dynasty Discord. I might have some free time tomorrow to finally do that. So everyone stay tuned for that. That might cheer us up. Get on the Discord, everybody. The fun trolley about to leave town. We'll probably make that available to just like the $3 a month patrons and up. I think that's reasonable, don't you think? For the joy of that parasocial circle jerk cry fest. Like, we're gonna be I'm hoping it'll turn out to be more of a sewing circle, really gossip driven,
Yes.
I think that might be a nice way to spend the spring and summer.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you for listening, everybody. We apologize that the universe had to shit you all out of its symbolic asshole today.
Hey, what's the name of the podcast, right?
Handkerchief Dynasty.
What is this team the best at? I remember once you said this is the best bad team ever. And
absolutely.
Once again, I mean, they proved you right again tonight. Like, nobody does it better.
But the pendulum can swing.
Does it better.
We were also the best of the best at times in our history.
When we had
I think it was
when God was walking the earth. When Gretzky, like how that,
he's still walking the earth. He didn't go anywhere. Was there some kind of apotheosis where he turns to some stars or something?
I mean, he's just not walking the earth in a way that's really relevant to me anymore. It's not really. He's just like some guy walking the earth now.
He's just some guy. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, what are you going to do? You're going to get up tomorrow. You're going to get your daytime drinking going. And you're gonna go about your business like always, What else is there to do?
Tomorrow's going to be a total nightmare, is what it's going to be, my friend.
Yeah, tomorrow will be crazy.
I'm not looking forward to waking up. I'm not looking forward to waking up. I'm not looking forward to greeting another day.
It's going to be a weird wait for the start of game 4. Because waiting for the start of game 4 when you're down 0-3 is a little bit like waiting for your sentencing hearing after they've gone over all the DNA evidence and eyewitness testimony, where you're like, well, maybe we can pull this shit off. And you look at your lawyer and he's like playing fucking Candy Crush on his phone. And you're like, no, this shit's
or it's like done. It's like you get a retrial and then like in the space between they find all the DNA evidence and they're like, you still want to go through with this? And you're like, yeah. Nothing to lose, right? And they're like, well, actually, in light of this new evidence, it's not.
You should take the deal. Take the deal. And you're like, no, I want to go to trial. I want to go to trial. They're like,
we got the retrial, right? Let's do it.
Yeah. It's like, we're good on the. I think we're good on the forecheck. I think we're in their heads now, boys. I think we're in their heads. They don't even know if we get all of our lines rolling. It's like, dude, no, you're not because when the Kings did it, the Kings were a big team. Honestly, I think a lot of this just comes down to size. I think we're too small, and we just need more size to win in the playoffs.
But are we we have big guys?
We're small as fuck. We're small as fuck. We have some big guys.
Yeah, I guess so.
When you open up the menu of Oilers players, cream of some young guy is on the menu.
Yeah, we
but
also
it's not. There's only 3 or 4 dishes that have big guys on it.
We also play very small, right? We also play very small, not physical hockey. I don't think we play very big, and we've tried.
I don't think there was a single time where an Oiler was outsizing a Winnipeg Jet today. It didn't seem that way. If it was happening, I didn't see it. The Oilers were playing decent physical and defensive hockey most of the night, but Winnipeg is way bigger than us. And I haven't looked at the numbers, but I'd be shocked if it's not by a large margin.
Whooped them every time the regular season, but for 2 times, right? We were 7-2. It's not. It hasn't been a problem.
The regular season, though, is a real different brand of hockey. That's becoming more and more clear to me every year.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. It's almost entirely meaningless.
Yeah, it's weird because we spent so long. It was an enjoyable regular season, but as a preamble to this shit, it's gonna be long forgotten soon.
Yes.
In 3 to 6 weeks, I'm probably gonna be pushing a shopping cart down the street, a la Viggo Mortensen in that movie The Road, but with less charisma and fewer prospects and for emotional growth and fulfillment.
Yeah, you'll be more just pushing a shopping cart down the road. No Viggo Mortensen, no shades of Viggo.
No,
just you and a shopping cart and a void.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say. To help propel that void forward and expand it so that it can suck in matter around it and surrounding universes, please join us at patreon.com/Handkerchief Dynasty. Fresh mixtape of classics released today. If you need something to cry to, it's actually a lot of breakup music. So a lot of classic breakup kind of Devo type songs in the sense that they're by Devo. So special shout out to the patrons. I hope you all enjoy that. Because we know you didn't enjoy the hockey game. I'll tell you that much. Not unless you died 55 minutes in before the collapse. You were like, man, I'm so glad I watched the Oilers win that sweet game, and that was the last thing I saw. And then you get to heaven, and they're like, oh, you could travel the speed of thought, no want, and you just are living all the time in a constant, ethereal but completely tangible embrace of 100% pure love energy. And you're like, oh, sweet. And then they're like, oh, by the way, the Oilers lost. And you're like, fuck, man. And it just brings you right back down, It shows the spirits that you're not ready and they send you back to earth. That could have been one of our fans tonight, could have died from the ecstasy of it all.
Yeah.
And then went through that journey.
Yeah,
that's how I feel.
It's very painful. It's I think I said in the last episode that when you're a fan of a team, right? You're so vulnerable because there's nothing you can do. You've just given your heart to this thing that you cannot really influence.
Like a golem.
And-
You've like created this monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when it's a team like the Oilers, I mean, that's rough. That is rough. That's rough.
You could even sense it with like the commentators too, you know, the like you like almost always unflappable, just professional broadcaster types, like just like are just like not, they're a little flapped right now. And I can't really blame them because like we just do this, you know, this is a podcast that we're worked really hard on. Actually, to be honest, we work probably as hard as anybody on it, but like some of these people have been covering this team for years. And like I'm sure they're fucking flapped right now. Like,
I can't imagine.
They're hitting that, you know, scotch.
Well, the swing from what they were saying and talking about going into this series, how like this was, they were like, there was a lot of this one's going to be for the Oilers fans that they've been through a lot of tough times, right? Grew up as kids and the Oilers were just real stinky. And this run, when they're going on this run, think about those fans. And now it's like, those fans are like, yeah, like, I wish you hadn't said that. You know what I mean? Nothing's changed. You only made it much, much worse by saying that, right? Like those fans are still just like taking it. It's just awful.
I mean, we have experienced like kind of like compartmentalizing and detaching ourselves from it. So like maybe it'll be fine. You know, we'll get vaccinated. We'll go hang out in the park all summer. We'll get laid, and everything will be like great. You know?
Yeah, I mean, you live in Vancouver, so I mean, there's a bit of a difference there, right? You have a beach. We have like not a beach. You know, we have a very dirty river that we can't really access. So
yeah, that's not the best. Why couldn't they just make some fake beaches?
I mean, why couldn't the Oilers close out a 4-1 game with 10 minutes left in a must-win situation, right?
Wait, are you saying the two things like might be like interrelated? Two symptoms of the same disease?
Absolutely, my friend. Absolutely. What did you call Edmonton? Like when in one of our very first episodes, like a hellmouth? Right?
Yeah, Hellmouth. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Very true. Very true.
Feels pretty true right now. Maybe Satan is like about to rise up from the earth. Maybe this is just a preamble to that.
No, I don't think so.
Maybe that's why they let the foot off the gas, because they like heard like some shit was going down. They're like, oh, some big chasm opened up and some demons are flying out of it. People are running and screaming.
I think
it didn't seem to affect the Jets. The Jets didn't seem perturbed at all. The Jets just like, man, have they showed up in these games, man? Like it's so different than playing them in the regular season. It's like two different teams.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, and so are we too, right? Like the first two games, we were also like different teams. So I don't know. I guess the Oilers just need to learn how to play playoff hockey, right? They need to learn that how to play a 60-minute game. These lessons, they're precious lessons, man. The Oilers have learned more lessons than like.
Yeah, that's what Tippy said post game. He was like, sometimes you got to learn hard lessons about what it takes to win in the playoffs. Like, honestly, I give Tippett.
How about Connie's? How about Connie's comments after the game, right? When he was like, listen, like, we're not just going to roll over and play dead. It's like, that's literally what you did 10 minutes ago. Exactly what you did. In fact, if I had to use a phrase to describe what I saw, I would say rolling over and playing dead. Rolling over and dying. Like, that's exactly what you did. I just don't get it. There's such a miserable team to be a fan of. Just perfect heartbreak, you know?
Yeah.
To have a player, the type of regular season, and then it's a lot. It's a lot to
process. Yeah.
A lot to sift through.
It's like, this is kind of how I felt when I learned the facts of life, you know, like I wanted to throw up just from like the totality of it all. You know,
Yeah, totally.
it's like you find something out and you're like, really gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot like that.
It's like you think you think the world's just like a beautiful place where things just magically happen, you know, and then you find it as it's the dirt, you know, it's the fucking dirt.
Yeah, man. I don't know, what can you say? I mean, I hope they win tomorrow. If they don't win tomorrow, I mean, that opens up a whole new jar of rancid mayonnaise. I mean, if they don't win tomorrow, Tippy's done, right? It's over for him.
Oh, guaranteed.
Yeah, he's
guaranteed. Yeah.
So then, yeah.
And maybe not even
which
fairly,
is a shame.
but like,
no, exactly.
This is the thing. This is the only thing I can hope for if that happens. Is we've talked about this before with Coach Tippy. Is he's one of the only coaches whose ghost also still coaches his former teams. So if we lose Tippy, hopefully the defensive acumen we've gained continues to be displayed, you know, via those means of having the ghost coach of Tippy still there. I suppose somehow.
So. It's just like
who the fuck is going to be our new coach though? Is another question. Like Ralph Kruger.
No, not
Doug Waite. It was a joke. It was a joke. Obviously, Ralph Kruger's never. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Ralph Kruger's Ralph Kruger's done.
He's we all know how much you love Ralph Kruger, man.
Not anymore.
No, you still love him. If they were like, if he got named head coach in the offseason, you would be so on board.
There's no way. There's a snowball chance in hell's chance of something like that ever happening, man.
He says, he grows a slow erection.
He's got no chance of ever coming back to the NHL. Like it's over. It's over for Kruger. But like I don't really know. Like if are there any good coaching candidates out there? I don't even know. Todd Nelson. I can only think of former coaches. Just bring Mac T back. How about we bring Mac T back? Kelly Buchberger, Rocky Thompson, or actually Jay Woodcroft. Actually, probably. Fuck, I don't give a shit. You know, Woodcroft could potentially be because he actually has been playing that team down there.
Yeah,
and getting great results.
It's just a shame because you know what? I really like Dave Tippett. I
do too, and I want us to. We punched our ticket for the 4-game in a row streak to win this shit. Like right. I'm craving streak. Are you craving streak?
Oh my god, I haven't had streak in so long. I can't even imagine. Remember when we used to eat streak all the time?
Like 4 or 5 times a week, man.
It was
butter saute that in some butter, you know. Get an herb brush. Just start brushing that shit with your herb brush.
It was like in January and February, like I was eating so much steak, it was almost too much steak.
Well, yeah, you were getting too much iron in your blood. You were just like setting off metal detectors.
I was gonna get gout. I was eating so much steak.
Yeah. I don't know.
Let's just end it. Let's end it.
We got to end it. There's nothing else to go. Yeah, there's nowhere else to go. Yeah. Sorry, everybody, but like we're fucking mentally, spiritually, sexually exhausted at this point. Okay, pick a category of exhaustion. The Handkerchief Dynasty podcast has that shit right now. We apologize to you again that the universe chose to shit you out of its ass tonight, but we all went through it together. So thank you so much for listening. We'll check in with you tomorrow. If you need help, if you need someone to talk to, follow us on Twitter at HandkerchiefDY1. We're here to listen. We care. Much love, brother. I'll talk to you mañana. I'm going to sleep in all day. I'm going to stay in bed and then just wake up when like the first period's over and check in. That's what I'm going to do.
That sounds like a good idea. I won't be able to do that, but you should do that. I'm going to live vicariously through you.
All right, please do.
That sounds
likewise.
Perfect.
Likewise. Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Good night, friend.